Hello, welcome to the A Book a Day channel. Today, the book I'm going to discuss with you is Get Good with Money: 10 Simple Steps to Becoming Financially Whole. This is a book about personal financial management. The Get Good in the title refers to establishing a complete personal financial system. Doing so helps us combat the uncertainty of the external environment with the certainty of an internal system, safeguarding and accumulating personal wealth. To achieve this goal, we need to regularly plan and adjust our income, expenses, debts, and assets under the guidance of a personal financial system and stick with it. This is all about doing the right things repeatedly. To be honest, when I first got this book, I had a moment of doubt, thinking it might be another self-help book. However, as I read further, I realized that it's a very informative book, not at all like self-help literature. It contains a total of 10 main chapters, each corresponding to a component of personal wealth management. Let me list them for you: budgeting, savings planning, debt elimination, credit score improvement, earning extra income, investing for retirement and wealth goals, proper insurance, increasing net worth, building a professional financial team, and estate planning. If you can't remember all of them, don't worry, we'll go through each one later. These topics cover all the important financial aspects a person needs to consider from earning money to the end of their life. Each chapter provides clear action plans and tool suggestions. By following these 10 chapters, you can create a comprehensive personal financial system. So, who teaches us to build this personal financial system? The author is an American named Tiffany Alish. Her story is quite interesting. She started her career as a kindergarten teacher, had a stable income, and saved a good amount of money. However, at the age of 29, she fell victim to a scam artist, losing all her savings and accumulating over $300,000 in debt. In the opening of this book, the author describes a scene where she sat on the floor of her apartment, crying. Later, she even lost her apartment due to the debt. After a challenging period of psychological recovery, the author calmed down and began to focus on solving the problem. Luckily, she had received comprehensive financial education from an early age and continued to learn about finance as an adult. However, she temporarily forgot all this knowledge after her life took a turn for the worse. So she started rebuilding her financial system, meticulously creating budgets, savings plans, debt repayment plans, and strategies to improve her credit score. Eventually, her financial situation began to improve. Some of her friends, upon seeing her progress, asked her for advice. She started helping these friends improve their financial situations, and soon, friends of friends approached her for help. Eventually, local charitable organizations asked her to teach a financial class in the community. Initially, there were only 10 students, but through word of mouth and social media, people from outside the area started applying for her classes. To make it accessible to more people, she put her course content online under the name Rich and Challenge. From that time to now, more than 1 million people have joined this challenge. Every day, the author receives feedback from students, saying they've paid off their debts, bought homes, achieved certain financial goals, or weathered unexpected financial setbacks. She increasingly realized that building a personal financial system is something everyone should undertake, and that's why she wrote this book. In today's discussion, I will connect some important content from the book from two perspectives: financial diagnosis and financial management. Financial diagnosis helps you understand your current financial situation, identify problems, and figure out how to improve it, while financial management helps you build a basic personal financial system from scratch. Okay, first, let's move on to the first part: financial diagnosis. Do you ever have the following concerns in your daily life? At the beginning of the month, when you receive your salary, you feel like it should be enough for the month, but before the end of the month, your money seems to disappear, and you're left with little. Or perhaps, you generally manage your expenses well, but when faced with unexpected emergency expenses, you don't have any reserve in your account. Or maybe you rely on credit cards and installment plans every month, and if you're not careful, you end up with overdue bills. There are many situations like these, but the common thread is either not making ends meet or barely getting by. When many people face these problems, their first reaction is, "There's nothing I can do, there are just too many places to spend money," or "It's because I don't earn enough." However, this book reminds us that things may not be that simple. Even though both situations involve not making ends meet, the reasons behind the problems can be different for different people. It's like having a stomachache, and people have it because they're hungry, some because they've eaten too much, and some because they ate the wrong thing, and so on. But one thing is certain: if someone has a stomachache, their body is not in a healthy state right now. Similarly, if a person frequently feels like they're not making ends meet, it means their financial situation is in a suboptimal state. So to improve this situation, It's clear that they need to diagnose and prescribe. The financial diagnosis we're discussing in this part serves these two purposes. First, it helps you diagnose the issues in your current income and expenses. And then it helps you make targeted improvements. Let's start with the diagnosis part. We know that before a doctor diagnoses you, they review various test reports to understand your overall health. Similarly, before conducting financial diagnosis, we need to examine ourselves and create a detailed income and expenses report, which means recording your income and expenses for the previous month. Many people may find this process cumbersome, but the author solemnly reminds us that this is the foundation of your personal financial system, the most fundamental and unavoidable step. If you want to improve your financial situation, you and your money should not just be passing acquaintances, you must become intimate friends. If you are willing to do this, let's continue and learn the specific actions outlined in the book. First, we need to create a spreadsheet and fill in the details of our income and expenses. For income details, if you receive a fixed monthly salary, input your actual after-tax income for each month. If you have variable income, calculate the average income over the past 6 months and record it. But we're not done yet. There may be some small sources of income that you've overlooked. For example, earnings from a side gig, income from selling used items, interest from investments, savings contributions, and so on. Regardless of the amount, list them all and calculate the total. Now, let's look at expense details. If you already have the habit of tracking your expenses, then creating an expense report is straightforward. You can categorize your bills, such as rent or mortgage, car payments, insurance, utilities, dining, entertainment, gifts, and so on. Then, input each category and its corresponding amount into the spreadsheet. If you use expense tracking apps on your smartphone, you may not need to manually categorize expenses, because these apps typically allow you to select categories when recording each transaction. However, if you don't usually track your expenses, it might be a bit more tedious. You can manually review your payment records from various platforms over the past month or, starting now, commit to tracking your expenses for a month and then create an expense report. Now, it's time to face reality because you will subtract the total expenses from the total income to determine your beginning of the month balance for the current month. Now, take a look at this number. Are you satisfied with it? If you are satisfied, that's great because it means your financial situation meets your expectations. However, according to the author's feedback from students, most people are unsatisfied with this number. Some may even have a negative balance, while others might find that this number is significantly less than they imagined. Many people send the author long strings of crying emojis, or they might actually start shedding tears. This is why the book refers to this step as the crying moment. The author says that many people resist tracking expenses and income because they are afraid of this moment. However, once you bravely pass through this phase, regardless of the result, you deserve applause because you've gained a new understanding of your finances, understanding where your money comes from and where it goes. This is the foundation for all the steps that follow. Now, if you want to further increase your beginning of the month balance, you should proceed by categorizing your expenses into A, B, and C first. A category expenses are those that, if not paid, will lead to legal consequences. Examples include rent, loan payments, credit card bills, and insurance. B category expenses are essential living expenses, such as gas bills, electricity bills, water bills, and phone bills. These bills won't have legal consequences if you don't pay, but they can disrupt your life. And B expenses are often referred to as obligatory expenses because they are necessary payments. After categorizing these obligatory expenses, all remaining expenses fall into the C category. This includes expenses for clothing, food, housing, transportation, daily items, health and beauty, entertainment, and leisure. You can more flexibly control these expenses, so they are often called discretionary expenses. So, after completing the steps we discussed earlier, you'll have enough information to start diagnosing your financial health. The key to the diagnosis is to determine the proportion of your C category expenses in your overall expenses, which is why we categorize the expenses. The next part involves some category discussion, so please pay attention. If you find that the majority of your money is spent on C category expenses, meaning discretionary expenses exceed obligatory expenses, your problem might be related to overspending. If you want to improve your financial situation, you should first consider which of these discretionary expenses can be reduced. Here are some methods frequently mentioned by the author's students that can help reduce C category expenses. For example, set a rule for yourself not to shop online until a certain date. I personally use this approach too. Reduce the frequency of eating out. Replace expensive skincare and nutritional products with more budget-friendly alternatives. Bring your lunch to work every other day. Make a shopping list before going to the supermarket to reduce impulsive spending. Review your subscription services and cancel those that are unnecessary. For instance, you may have multiple memberships for music or video streaming platforms. Can you cancel some of them? Do you actually use the movie streaming membership on your TV? How often do you use the gym membership? And do you still need to renew it? The author students have saved a significant amount of money using these methods. So if your issue is related to spending too much, that's how you can address it. But if your C category expenses make up only a small part of your overall expenses, or if you feel there's little room for adjustment, you can then focus on B category and A category expenses. As both B and A expenses are considered obligatory expenses, they are not very easily adjustable. Among these, adjusting B category expenses is relatively easier. It mainly involves saving on utilities like gas, electricity, and phone bills. Adjusting A category expenses involves making more substantial and challenging decisions. For example, review your insurance policies and see which ones can temporarily be put on hold or have their premiums adjusted. If you're renting, you might consider moving to a smaller or more affordable place. So to sum it up, if you think your expenses are relatively high and want to cut them, start with C category expenses, then move on to B category, and finally A category. But if you find that most of your money is spent on A and B expenses, and you already live frugally with little room for adjustments, it's time to focus on increasing your income. If you're employed, seeking a raise is the primary way to increase your income. Of course, this is not an easy task. However, the author provides a suggestion that's worth considering. This advice can help you prepare for every future opportunity for a raise. The recommendation is to create a brag book. It can be a notebook or an electronic document. What's it for? From today, use it to record every way you save or make money for your company, whether it's a direct or indirect contribution. Include details like the date, people involved, and outcome data. When the opportunity for a promotion or raise arrives, this brag book will be your strong foundation and excellent support. Moreover, during times when you're feeling low or doubting your self-worth, flipping through this brag book can help you regain your confidence more quickly. In addition to finding ways to increase your income in your current job, you can also develop side gigs in your spare time. This is a broader topic that the book does not delve into extensively. If you're interested in this topic, I'll be discussing a book titled The Side Hustle Path in a few days, which provides a detailed exploration. Feel free to subscribe and watch that video. So this is the financial diagnosis we discussed in the book, including making the diagnosis and prescribing the remedy in the book. The author provides a template for an income and expenses report. All the steps we mentioned earlier can be completed on this single sheet. The left side of the header represents your beginning of the month balance before the diagnosis, and the right side shows the balance after adjusting according to the prescription, which you can fill in later. Alright, let's move on to the second part, personal financial management. In this part, our main goal is to establish a basic personal financial system using 6 accounts. Now, let's revisit your income and expenses report, focusing on the income section. When you receive your income at the beginning of each month, imagine it as a round cake. Your goal now is to divide this cake into 6 pieces and allocate them into different accounts. The first 2 accounts are reserved for the obligatory and flexible expenses we discussed earlier. As soon as you receive your income for the month, your first step is to allocate the money for obligatory expenses into the first account. Then, calculate how much you'll need for flexible expenses for the month and transfer it into the second account. One significant benefit of this approach is that it prevents impulsive overspending. If all your income is in one account, and you use the same account for your expenses, you might see a lot of money at the beginning of the month. If there's a product you like on sale, you might be tempted to buy it right away. But by separating your accounts and setting spending limits, you create a buffer. If you spend money on a non-essential item, you'll see that the money left for the rest of the month may not be enough, giving you a chance to reconsider if you truly need that item. The author introduces a bracelet with the words need, love, like, one to represent the priority of expenses. Need refers to essential items like food, utilities, and healthcare, while love includes things that bring happiness for a longer period, such as a wedding or a family trip. Like refers to items that bring happiness for a few months, and one includes items you desire temporarily. Before making a purchase, the author recommends asking yourself whether the item falls into the need, love, like, or want category. Your money should be prioritized for need and love, with like coming next, while one is the lowest priority. However, there's a challenge here. Many times, things that bring long-term value or fulfill significant life goals often require more money, such as a wedding, a long-distance trip, a car, or a house. These are not easily affordable with casual spending. This is where the third account comes into play. The author suggests creating a goal savings account specifically for these significant objectives. The amount you should save depends on the size of your goals and the time frame in which you want to achieve them. For instance, if you plan to travel in a year, and it costs 30,000 units, and you plan to buy a car in 3 years, which costs 150,000 units, you would save 6,667 units per month. Adjustments can be made based on your specific circumstances, such as expecting a pay raise in a few months. So far, we've allocated money into 4 accounts. Now, let's discuss the fourth account, the emergency savings account. This account serves as a safety net in case of unexpected income interruptions, ensuring that you can maintain your basic lifestyle during such times. Many people may already consciously set aside money for emergency savings because our financial environment is constantly changing. We can't always control economic fluctuations or personal crises. The author compares this behavior to that of a squirrel, which tirelessly collects and stores nuts during the harvest season to prepare for the winter. How much should you save in this account? The author recommends saving at least enough to cover a 3-month noodle budget. What's a noodle budget? It includes your basic living expenses, mainly your obligatory monthly expenses such as rent, loan payments, utility bills, and the minimum required for food and drinks. For the author, her most basic meal consists of various types of noodles and beans, which is her noodle budget. If your emergency savings account is currently empty, you can start by regularly depositing a portion of your income into it, depending on how many months it would take to reach your desired savings amount. Now you'll have 5 accounts in place. If you still have money left over from your income, we can continue by allocating a portion into the 5th account. But what if there's not much left? Can you skip the 5th account? The book does not recommend skipping it. It's better to try some of the income generation and cost-saving methods mentioned earlier to free up some money for this 5th account. Why is this account important? It's your retirement investment account. The money in this account is intended to ensure that you can continue to lead a relatively comfortable life after retirement. When you hear retirement investment, you might think you're too young or too close to retirement for this to matter. Or perhaps you think you're not earning enough to save the required amount. The author believes these thoughts are not valid. It's never too early to start thinking about retirement, and it's never too late either. So now you have 5 accounts. The final 6th account is called the wealth investment account. You can place your money here if you want to further increase your wealth and use it for investment purposes. This account is different from the others. It's not a necessary account for everyone. Many financial books emphasize the importance of learning to invest and make your wealth grow. However, this book tells us to ask ourselves 5 questions before considering wealth investment. 1. Is my debt paid off? 2. Are all my bills paid off? 3. Have I saved enough for my goals? 4. Do I have a 3-6 month noodle budget? 5. Have I been consistently saving for retirement? If the answer to all of these questions is yes, you can consider opening this 6th account and begin your wealth investment journey. If you're interested in learning how to invest for wealth, there are various resources available, and the author encourages you to educate yourself on this topic. To sum up, the book suggests creating a financial system with 6 accounts: obligatory expenses account, flexible expenses account, goal savings account, emergency savings account, retirement investment account, and wealth investment account. These are the key points discussed in this book. In addition to these topics, the book covers other areas such as debt management, sensible insurance, and estate planning. If you have the time, the author recommends reading these sections as well. Estate planning in particular is a subject that many people may hesitate to approach, but the book highlights the importance of taking control of your assets and making decisions about their future. Estate planning should not be a task left for later in life, but rather a process that is revisited every 5 years to reevaluate your financial situation, relationships, and goals. All right, we'll wrap up our discussion of this book today. Congratulations on completing another book.